Live pictures of Mexico City. We've told you the midnight hour has touched the North American continent. This is a place where midnight will reach in about an hour and a half. There's CNN's Harris Whitbeck. Harris? Harris Whitbeck, are you with us? They're making music, and our correspondent is on the scene. This is Mexico City's main square, the Zocalo. Evidently, we've lost temporarily. We've lost Harris Whitbeck, but Bernie, somebody named John Zarrella.
Well, we lost Harris Whitbeck. It's not Y2K related. There are no Y2K problems of import to report to you. And one of the ways NASA assured that there would be no problems is that it kept the shuttles out of orbit. Our man John Zarrella is at the Kennedy Space Center with more. John?
Bernie, well, you know, you've seen some fabulous fireworks for the past 18 hours or so, but as you know, I can tell everybody that until you've seen one of these launch, you really haven't seen fireworks at all. That's a Delta III rocket, and it's boosted lots of payloads into orbit and communication satellite and sent probes onto Mars. And over to the other side of me here is an Atlas III rocket, and that is another one of the big heavy lift rockets they have here. We are out at Complex 14, Launch Complex 14, and the building behind me there is the blockhouse, where 4 of the Mercury flights took off from. And here tonight in that blockhouse and in a tent behind that, a huge gathering of NASA engineers, scientists, astronauts, Kennedy Space Center workers, all here to celebrate, because it is here that some of humankind's greatest technological achievements of the 20th century took place.
Godspeed, John Glenn. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
38 years ago, astronaut John Glenn became the 3rd American in space, the first to orbit the Earth.
If we were guinea pigs, we were very willing guinea pigs, because we volunteered.
In the 1960s, the high frontier was a Cold War battlefield.
I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal, before this decade is out, of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth.
Kennedy's speech launched the race to the moon. The program, called Apollo, was in its purest sense about a nation's strength.
What Apollo meant was military power. And John, it was power without arrogance. Here's your demonstration of your muscle without having to flex the thing.
When it came to the space race, Cape Canaveral was the center of the universe. And on July 20th, 1969, history was written.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Over the next 3 years, a dozen humans walked on the moon.
I still feel that it was probably the most wonderful engineering event to take place in history since the pyramids, and I was damn proud to have been a part of it.
I was strolling on the moon one day.
And the 500 people gathered here for this party all believe that in the 21st century, perhaps America and the world's next greatest technological achievement, putting humans on Mars, will be launched from here. This is John Zarrella reporting live from Cape Canaveral, Florida.
And we have much more to show you as 75 minutes remain in Times Square.
We're more than 4 hours away, Bernie, from midnight touching the great state of California. But there's one place in California, namely Los Angeles, and the Los Angeles airport, where our own Greg Lamont has kept a close eye on what's taking place. Greg.
Judy, no need to adjust your television set. What you see or don't see is exactly what's happening this minute at the world's 4th busiest airport. Normally, Los Angeles International Airport handles 166,000 passengers a day, but as you can see, there's hardly anyone here. All of the airport stores are open. There's just no one in them. In this terminal, there's normally 22 scheduled flights. At this hour tonight, there are 2. Clearly, the overwhelming majority of people who are planning on traveling already have. Whether they were concerned about Y2K or possible terrorism, we don't know. We just know that they are not here. As far as Y2K is concerned, Los Angeles International Airport officials have told us that they are experiencing no problems either on the ground or in the air. The FAA has said all 565 of the airports it regulates are Y2K ready, and such would seem the case given the fact that U.S. airlines run off of Greenwich Mean Time, and it was midnight Greenwich Mean Time almost 4 hours ago. Not everyone has reached their destination, however. Joining me are David and Chris Gruenhagen. They started off flying in Edmonton, Canada, went to Minneapolis, then ended up in Orange County, had to take a bus from Orange County to LAX. They are now getting on a red-eye in a couple of hours to Sydney, Australia. You folks must be absolutely exhausted.
Yeah, looking forward to laying down. Yeah.
What, first of all, have friends and relatives said to you about traveling on New Year's Eve?
Why are you taking your children with you? in anticipation of something terrible happening, but I have to ignore them. Here I am.
Friends and relatives more concerned than you?
I don't think so. I feel if the crew is willing to get on board, I'm confident to get on board with them. And I think that, like you were saying, Y2K is pretty much figured out as far as I'm concerned, and I feel good about it.
Do you have any concerns at all, or did it cross your mind about the fact that you would be flying at midnight, at least Los Angeles time, to Australia?
Well, one thing is it's already New Year's Day there, so that if anything has happened there, it would have happened. Here, we're going to be gone 2 hours or an hour and a half before anything could possibly happen at that glitch. So I guess we'll be out in the ocean, and we hope nothing happens.
You were also telling me earlier that your thoughts were, why would airlines put planes up in the air if there were concerns?
Well, exactly. There's millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of an airplane costs, plus the crews, plus everything else that could happen. I don't think that they would allow that to happen if they didn't feel confident, or the air traffic controllers would feel confident that anything could happen. I mean, I'm sure they're confident.
Now, it's my understanding you're getting on a Qantas flight.
Yeah.
As I understand it, that plane, a 747, holds about 400 passengers. Have you been told how many will be flying tonight?
I think about 50.
50 passengers. Yeah. Okay.
And we're 4. We're 4 of them.
Happy New Year to you, too, and thank you very much for waiting for us.
Thanks a lot.
There are people still flying, and many folks now are saying they simply don't have any concerns about Y2K or any active terrorism. Bernie, Judy?
Greg, there are some people in Washington who are quite pleased to hear you report that because airspace is their primary concern. Carl Rochelle brings us up today.
Bernie, here's a look at the system right now. These are the aircraft that you see. These dots on this map are airplanes that are approaching airports. Now, this is what the picture looks like at the FAA's command center in Herndon, Virginia, where they track all of the airplanes that are flying within the controlled airspace controlled by the FAA. We had a briefing by a senior FAA official just a little while ago, and he said that so far the system is going through, his words, flying colors. That's the way it's dealt with Y2K. Monty Belger, the deputy administrator, said there have been no reports of any failure affecting operational or safety of any nature like that anywhere within the United States, and he said they're tracking the international systems and haven't come up with any problems in the international system either. He said there were a few minor glitches, perhaps a dozen or so. That's about half of what they normally get reported, most significant of which was a printer that affects the ocean systems. Now, ocean systems are those that control the airports flying into and out of the United States in the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean, coming into and out of the country. Some printers down, but it didn't affect operations and it didn't affect safety. We were told that there was one incident reported to the FAA about an airport losing its landing lights, and they checked into that fairly closely and decided that determined that what had happened was a taxi driver hit a power pole and knocked the power out. And that was about the time that Y2K went through. That's the closest they have had to a problem of any kind within the system. Bernie, Judy?
Okay. Well, a lot of us are resting more easily hearing that. We can all breathe a much bigger sigh of relief. We're going to take a break. When we come back, much, much more on this night as we wait the millennium in the East Coast of the United States.
Adults, what do they know about the future? What do children know about the future? Watch this report by CNN's Ann McDermott in Los Angeles.
Raise your hand if you can tell me what an LP is.
LP?
Nope, they've never seen a needle on a record, or a TV that only got a couple of channels, or a world without computers. And they don't really remember Ronald Reagan. They've never seen the Mary Tyler Moore Show. And the Vietnam War, ancient history.
Raise your hand if you can tell me when the Vietnam War was.
In the 19-something.
1993, something like that.
Of course, they haven't studied it in school yet, but beyond that, their world is different from ours. The eyes of these children are fixed firmly on the future. They are certain that the future will be fun, that there will still be a Disneyland, but with rides to the moon, and roller coasters that really roar.
You get in it and it like took off and it went around like the whole entire world.
Movies, they will be amazing.
We would like have 3D movies and 3D movies? Like the explosions would like go right into your face.
But they won't hurt. These kids never want to see anyone get hurt. And they seem to think the world of the future will be a world without war. Sure, there'll be bad guys, but thanks to new technology, they'll get good again.
They can make criminals, like, better. They can delete their minds.
What about aliens? Well, what kind of millennium would it be without men from Mars?
We could make friends with aliens, and maybe the aliens could teach us better techniques.
A dazzling vision, but will it come true? They think so. They sure hope so.
The only thing I wish is for this world to be a better place for us and all creatures, animals, plants, and all living things.
We shall see. Ann McDermott, CNN, Los Angeles.
And we're watching because they're getting ready in Times Square. We'll be right back.